Scary Mysteries Twisted Twos, Birds of Arkansa, and Mackenzie Poltergeist. Tales of hauntings, murder, and scary mysteries. Every week, Twisted Twos dives into a pair of uniquely terrifying true stories that are worthy of a more in-depth look. For this week, we focus on a very strange phenomenon that occurred in Arkansas and the mysterious hauntings in Scotland known as the Mackenzie Poltergeist. Get ready for Scary Mysteries Twisted Twos. Number 1. Birds of Arkansas. Dead black birds suddenly dropping from the sky surely would freak anyone out, and that's exactly what happened to the residents of Beebe, Arkansas, when on New Year's Day in 2011, more than 5,000 blackbirds dropped dead onto their small town. It began just a half an hour before midnight when the Arkansas Game and Fishing Commission started receiving reports that birds had started crashing into the town of Beebe. The small town, mostly comprised of Catholics, only had about 5,000 residents. Within an area of a mile and a half, thousands of little birds began hitting roads and roofs around town. Most of the birds that fell were already dead, but some were still alive, struggling to get upright. Trying to figure out what happened, the state sent in a helicopter into the area, trying to get a view of the incident from above where it originated, but they were perplexed to find out that the blackbirds only fell into the small town. From the moment it happened, religious townsfolk proclaimed it was a sign of the impending apocalypse. After all, this incident happened in 2011, shortly before 2012, which was, of course, the predicted doomsday date on the Mayan calendar. Then, shortly after this, another report of a range of birds, this time jackdaws, also met their mass demise in Falköping, Sweden. Then reports of mass birds and fish dying off began happening in various countries around the world like Brazil, Thailand, and even Japan. For conspiracy theorists, they pointed to UFOs or government testing of high-powered satellite weapons. Others pointed to poison as a possible cause and also, perhaps, bad weather. In the case of the Arkansas birds, when examined, their little bodies showed they suffered through trauma. It was first believed the red-winged birds flew too low and collided with fireworks during the turn of the year. However, this was later ruled out. Then another theory came out that said the birds must have been poisoned. You see, these blackbirds at the center of the mass death were considered agricultural pests, something farmers in the area despised. So it's possible they may have been targeted with poison. However, initial testing of the birds didn't show any type of disease or poison present in their systems. Curiously, the following year in 2012, the same thing happened again. A mass die-off of blackbirds occurred, causing the little creatures to fall from the sky. The first time it happened, the official reason used was fireworks and that the birds got disoriented and started flying at night when the fireworks went off. But in 2012, it was unclear whether the same reason was used. Biologists say mass die-offs are natural and happen more often than reported. Although most scientists and researchers are still unsure what the cause might be, they argue it's a natural occurrence. Moreover, they say other reasons, like the birds running into power lines or tall structures like skyscrapers, can also cause them to die en masse. Sometimes they encounter violent weather like hail, lightning, or wind while in the air that can also easily kill them as well. Today, the true cause of the blackbird deaths in Arkansas remains to be seen. Number 2. Mackenzie Poltergeist. It started on a cold and rainy night in December of 1998 in Scotland. A homeless man was seeking shelter from the storm when he wandered into Greyfriars Kirkyard and broke into the mausoleum of the Mackenzie family. For the man, the mausoleum served as a good shelter. He explored the inside and found an iron gate on the floor. He took it out and went downstairs, following a stone staircase until he found the second chamber. It was here where 4 wooden coffins were sitting. Likely hoping to steal valuables from the dead, the man broke into the caskets. But as he was breaking through, the floor underneath him collapsed and he found himself inside a third chamber that no one had even known existed. Inside here were the dead and rotting corpses of several people. These corpses had sunken features, matted hair, and ragged clothing. In fear, the man bolted out of the tomb entrance, not even stopping after he cut himself on the entrance gate. Because of all the commotion, a nearby security guard and dog investigated the noises in the area. The guard came across the fleeing homeless man, and seeing him frightened out of his mind, also sent that guard fleeing into his own direction. The next day, he related what had happened, but the homeless man was never found again. Curiously, this incident started the rash of violent poltergeist activity in the area, and many people are pointing to the infamous George Mackenzie as the culprit. Known as Bloody Mackenzie, he led the way in torturing and killing thousands of people. He became an advocate to King Charles II and happily prosecuted the Covenanters who refused to accept the Episcopalian Church religion. During battle, which also happened close to Greyfriars, over 3,000 people were captured. Some were hanged, others beheaded with their skulls displayed on the city walls. More were left tortured in public, then kept in prison and starved to death. Some were corralled like farm animals, out in the open, left to suffer under the elements until they renounced their religion. This was considered to be the first kind of concentration camp to ever exist. More than 1,200 died from exposure and starvation alone that year. Those who survived were packed onto ships and sent to Australia, although some never made that journey either. During his reign of brutality, it's believed Mackenzie was responsible for the deaths of over 18,000 individuals. When he died, they locked his body off in the Black Mausoleum until that fateful night the homeless man wandered in. Since then, unusual poltergeist activity has occurred. The next day after the break-in, for example, a woman curious about the news was standing in front of the iron gate of the vault door. She said she was blasted back off its steps by a cold force. Then another female was found on the ground close to the tomb. She had bruising around her neck and said she felt invisible hands trying to strangle her. A young man who was also discovered close to the tomb had similar problematic injuries on his neck. Because of the rising reports, the Edinburgh City Council decided to lock the mausoleum's door and proclaim the location to be out of bounds. But of course, where there's ghosts, there's bound to be ghost hunters. Local author Jan Andrew Henderson convinced the city council to give him permission to give tours in the mausoleum area, but this soon meant the paranormal activity began happening again. Those who visited the site reported getting scratched or receiving unusual bruises on their body without any explanation. Activity has become so frequent that there's a huge community online of people sharing their own experiences and photos of the strange injuries and marks. Since 1998, there have been over 450 reports of paranormal attacks on people. Some 180 of those lost consciousness, cold spots were felt, and fires have even broken out. Dead wildlife was found in the vault. Those who visited suffered from broken fingers and felt their hair pulled from their heads. They also experienced being burned, numbness, nauseousness, unusual skin marks, and electrical malfunctions. The curious thing with the physical attacks is that most people don't feel it happening in real time. Instead, they often finish the tour, go back to their hotels, only to find that they have unusual marks, scrapes, and sharp burning sensations. There are those still skeptical, of course, of the Mackenzie Poltergeist, saying there could be a natural and rational explanation, and that it's even possible the reports are a form of mass self-inflicted hysteria. Whatever the case, it's hard to deny the wealth of evidence and the number of victim testimonies surrounding this strange and haunted hotspot. So there were two of the strangest and most haunting stories around. The world can be a crazy place, and Twisted Twos is sure to show you why. If you enjoyed this video, then please remember to subscribe and check out some of our other videos we know you'll like. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.